So we've just had a new ban list, and off the list has come Ib the World Chalice Justiciar. So in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this card, what it can do for a deck like Generaider Runick, and then we're going to show you a combo made by Harry, which leads to 2 negates and hand looping your opponent for 4. Which is pretty good. So why is Ib the World Justiciar such a crazy card for this deck? Well, if you don't know what this card does, it's a generic 5. It could use a World Chalice normal as a tuner, which isn't that important. But the main thing this card does is on Synchro Summon, you get to add a World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. Now, most World Legacy cards aren't that fantastic, but there is one for Runick Generaider which is absolutely insane, and that is World Legacy Monstrosity. This is a quick play spell, which allows you to either special a level 9 monster from your hand, which is pretty much all of the big generators, or the second effect where you can target a level 9 monster you control and special summon 2 level 9s, each with different original types and attributes from the face-up targeted monster and with different names from each other. So absolutely fantastic. This is E-Telly for 2, essentially. This card was being played in this deck already, but now we have a way of searching it, which is absolutely fantastic. And all the generators have different types and attributes, so they're really easy to summon multiple at the same time. The Runick side of this comes in when we realise that Sleipnir is a level 9 monster you can summon off of a Runick spell. So the basic idea of this deck is to make an Ib, summon a Sleipnir, use Monstrosity to summon out 2 Generaider monsters and just combo off from there, either putting up negates or hand looping our opponent or just OTKing our opponent. Probably not if we've used the Runick spells, but you know what I'm saying. So we'll get straight into the list. So we are playing 3 copies of Lopter. This is Lone Fire Blossom. 3 copies of Valor can special summon itself from the hand or graveyard by sending a Generator card from hand to graveyard, and on special summon can allow you to special summon a Generator from your grave exclusively, I'm pretty sure. Might be able to summon from hand as well. Hand or graveyard. We've got 2 copies of Ha. Important to play 2 copies of this card because bestials, but it's also the negate for the deck. It's an omni-negate, and if your opponent adds a card from deck to hand, you can make them send a monster from hand to graveyard. 1 copy of Mardell. This is the Searcher. You would typically play 2 of this card, but because we are playing a quite large Runick package, we've reduced this down to 1 copy. 1 copy of Hela. This summons from grave. 1 copy of Edgarto. This is the Banish. And then we are playing 3 Diviner, 1 Trias, and 1 DD Sprite. The idea of this is use Diviner to send Trias, tribute the Diviner to summon the Trias from your graveyard, which triggers our Diviner to summon our DD Sprite. This allows us to get our tutor access to make our Ib, or it allows us to make a Baron de Fleur, which isn't in the extra deck because we didn't have room. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. You don't typically play hand traps in a deck with Runick, but because this is a level 3 tuner, it means that if we open this and some Runick spells, we can summon a Hugin to search our Fountain. We can normal summon a Ash Blossom, and we can make an Ib. And from there, if we have another Runick spell, we can summon Gary, make a 9, and then, summon a Sleipnir, use the Monstrosity, and we're off to the races. And it's also just disruption, which is cool. 3 copies of Boss Stage isn't the main focus of this deck at this point because the hand loop going first is so important. But if you just happen to open up this with the hand loop, then you're putting multiple interruptions to the board as well. For the Runick spells, we're playing 2 Destruction, 3 Flashing Fire, 3 Freezing Curses, 3 Tip, 2 Slumber, and 1 Smiting Storm. We've reduced a Destruction from the list to play the Smiting Storm just to have the extra name to increase the chances that we see multiple names so we can summon 2 monsters in the same turn. But you could easily just bump this up and bump something else down, like bump Slumber down to 1 and increase Destruction. Whatever you want to do. We're playing the 1 copy of Runick Fountain. This also isn't the main idea of this sort of Runick deck, but we want to play 1 because it is searchable and it does allow us to draw out of our hands, which is just 2 Runick heavy, and 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. We do want to search this, but if we just happen to open it, that's still fantastic as well. We're not playing any of the Generator traps purely because we are playing so much of the Runick engine and we didn't really want to go over 40 cards. You could easily play a boss fight or a boss room in the deck, maybe like getting rid of a Ha, but I think it's more important to have the second Ha access than playing a boss fight in the main, especially when we're only playing 1 Mardell, which means we're less likely to be searching our Generator cards anyway, so we're less likely to be searching the boss fight. I don't know, you could play the traps if you want to. This is the sort of list that I liked. For the extra, we're playing an SP Little Knight. We are playing a Runick variant, and SP Little Knight is fantastic in Runick variants because every single card is instant fusion. 1 Hugin, 1 Munin, 1 Gary, and 2 Sleipnir. We're playing the 1 Hugin, obviously, for our boss stage, but it's also a 2 for our Ash Blossom. Immunin is important for winning in time. Obviously, you don't always have a battle phase in Runick strategies, but also if our Diviner gets ashed, impermed, veilered, or interrupted in any way, then using a Runick spell to summon the Immunin makes our IB, which allows us to continue playing. One Gary, it's important for when you do your traditional combo, because you go Diviner, Trias, summon the DD Sprite, and you go Gary and DD Sprite for the IB, which we're playing, which we talked about earlier. One Cloud Castle. This allows us to special summon at level 9 back from Graveyard, and it's really easy to make since IB is a tuner. We're playing 2 Jormungandr and 1 Laverton. I would like to play the second Laverton, especially if we're going second. However, this extra deck is incredibly tight, and it would probably be the SP Little Knight which comes out, and I think that's maybe just as good as the Laverton. So you could cut the SP Little Knight, especially if you don't have one. I don't have one, so I mean, I'm not going to play this if I had this deck on paper, but you could maybe cut it for the second Laverton. 2 Enter Blafnir, this is a hand loop card, so that's pretty good. And then we're playing the Utopic Future and the Utopic Draco Future. So that is the list, and we'll get straight into the combo, just the one today. So this combo is going to be Diviner of the Herald, if I can speak, and 2 Runick quick play spells with different names. So we're going to start by normal summoning our copy of Diviner and sending from deck to graveyard the Trias. We're going to use the Trias to tribute the Herald, and we are going to trigger the Diviner in our graveyard to special summon a copy of DD Sprite. We are then going to use Freezing Curses to special summon a copy of Gary, and we are going to synchro off our Gary and our Sprite for an IB. From here, we can use IB's effect to search for a Wild Legacy monstrosity, and we can use Flashing Fire to special summon our copy of Sleipnir. From here, we're going to use the monstrosity targeting the Mare to special summon 2 level 9s from the deck, and we are going to summon the Valor and the Ha. From here, we're going to overlay our Valor and our Trias to go for a Jormungandr, and we're going to detach the Valor here. This is going to trigger both of our Ha and our Sleipnir. Since a card was added to our opponent's hand, we are allowed to summon a token off of the Sleipnir, and we're also going to rip a card from our opponent's hand with the Ha. The token in the corner is just going to keep track of how many cards we are ripping. From here, we can overlay our Sleipnir and our Hala for a copy of Enter Blafnir, detaching the Ha from it to rip another card from our opponent, and then we can synchro off our IB and our token, which is a level 4, to go into a Cloud Castle. From here, we can use Cloud Castle's effect to special summon back the Valor, and we haven't used the effect of Valor yet, so we could use Valor to summon back this Ha. From here, we can overlay the Valor and the Cloud Castle to go into another Enter Blafnir, detaching the Valor to rip a third card from our opponent. From here, we can overlay both our Enter Blafnirs into a copy of Utopic Future, and then into a Utopic Draco Future for a Monster Negate, and potentially a Snatch Steal. And then we can pass turn with 3 cards ripped from our opponents. In our opponent's draw phase, we can use the effect of Jormungandr to detach and attach another card from our opponent's hand, and this will of course trigger our Ha again to rip a card from our opponent's hand. So this is 4 cards total ripped, with 2 generators on the board for our Ha. We can use itself and the XYZ to tribute to negate a card, and we have our Utopic Draco Future, which is also a negate. So our opponent has 2 cards in hand, we have 2 negates, 1 monster, 1 omni. Obviously they could have some monster effects in the graveyard, because our opponent is allowed to use the effect of the Jormungandr to attach whatever they want to this card, and Ha forces them to discard monsters. So if they don't have monsters, then they don't discard. So it's not a perfect rip 4, but it's still pretty good. And yeah, this was just off of the 3 cards, the 2 Runick cards and the Diviner. So you should have another 2 cards in hand. If you have like an extra generator name, you can go even further, because we didn't use Valor's effect to special summon itself in this combo at all. So you could bring this back, have another 9, and just go for even more plays after that. So that's the combo I wanted to show you with Lost Connection. I swear this happens every single video. So this is the list again. Copy it, do whatever you want with it, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video, which I think might be super heavy World Chalice. So if that sounds interesting, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.